everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are tuned in to the review of Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episode 16. Alright guys, before we get started, don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be the first to find out when I post these videos. Alright you guys, we are almost at the finish line, okay? We're almost at the finish line. This was the last episode before Decision Day. And let's just jump into it. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna hold y'all today because those 2 hours were really unnecessary as far as I'm concerned. The episode really drug on, and there was nothing super outstanding about it. This has been a tough season. This season felt like more exciting to me at the beginning. But as time goes on, it's just less and less interesting, I would say. It just feels like certain things are on autopilot. This whole episode, you know, each contestant met with their friends or family, or they got together and talked about what they would do for Decision Day ad nauseum. And it's just like, most of these couples, it's like, why are we watching this? Honestly, why are we watching this? Case in point, Brett and Ryan. Why are we watching Brett and Ryan talk about what they're gonna do for Decision Day? They don't need to be together. Brett and Ryan need to be refunded for their payments for each other. They're not what each other wanted. Ryan is really not what Brett needed. Because here's the thing, Brett has been as authentic as I think she can be in this process and trying to make it work and hoping something would happen and staying in it. And you know, Ryan did a real douchey thing, and in terms of getting on a dating app and sabotaging and being absent and not communicating. It's just, why? They're not going to be together. They don't need to be together. They're not what each other asked for. And honestly, Ryan is not ready for a relationship, because I keep saying this. When he gets into one with someone he does care about, he's still going to struggle with communication because he doesn't know how to communicate. We see his friend even say that's a hard aspect for him in a relationship. So Brett and Ryan, we're done. I just can't even waste time. This episode was just way too long for impending Decision Day when we know most of these couples are at odds. I see a lot of the rumors. I get a lot of the rumors. So I try to do my best and just review each episode. Because if I get caught up in what I see and hear and know, then it's pointless. So I always think we can learn something from watching these couples no matter what, because sometimes we show up in our lives in similar fashions. So Brett and Ryan, done. Goodbye. They won't be together. They don't need to be together. Next. Zach and Michaela, that's another couple that we know don't need to be together, that we know are not really ready to be with anyone, not just each other. See, Zach seems to think that he's like significantly better than her. He's not. The way that they show or deal with conflict is different. Clearly she's more explosive. She is the aggressor. Like, Zach is the less offending person, but quietly his issues are problematic as well. Zach is problematic as well. He was talking to Gil about, you know, holding her accountable because her exes didn't hold her accountable on her behavior. Somebody needs to hold Zach accountable in terms of, Zach doesn't communicate well either. Zach is prepared for this thing that he thinks is marriage, but I don't think he's really prepared for what it would take, because it may not show up in the form of Michaela, but it might show up in a different form. I don't think he's really ready for that either. And Zach, in not communicating as well, gives very mixed messages. I think that when he is triggered, he doesn't necessarily know how to communicate effectively or stick around when it's really difficult. I mean, if I had to choose one, I would say that Michaela is more problematic in their dynamic, but Zach is not ready for marriage either. So they need extensive therapy to really deal with some of the stuff that they have going on. And the thing is, marriage is a mirror. So once you get married, no matter how much you've prepared for it, There's only certain things that show up when you're in a relationship, when you're in a marriage. There's certain things that will trigger that side of you or will reflect this aspect of you that you didn't know existed because it just never had to show itself. So there is work always to be done, but he is not as prepared for marriage as he thinks he is, and he doesn't really hold himself accountable the way that he wants her to be held accountable, because if he was held accountable, he would do things a little bit differently too. You know, you can't even take them seriously. You know, they had lunch afterwards, and maybe that was good for them to, without the cameras, had a lunch, talked about it, and then they spent the night. He asked her to spend the night. You know, she did. I'm sure they weren't reading the Bible. So it's like, what are y'all doing? Y'all are playing games now, you know? I can't take you guys seriously, and you guys are not taking each other seriously. It's just, let's just get it in because we've been getting it in and we're having fun right now. But even Zach taking advantage of the fact that she knows, you know, he knows that she loves him. I don't believe that she really loves him, but she loves him and she wants to be with him, and they've already been intimate. So he's taking advantage of that in kind of just this very playboy way. And that's not going to work out. So Zach and Michaela, that's done. No surprise there. Johnny and Val, I already told you guys, Johnny does not deserve Val. Johnny is really, and it's not to say that Bao is perfect, because I have said that I don't think she's perfect by any means. I think no one is perfect, but I think that she is communicative. She's really trying. Like, you can see her really trying. And she is an anchor for him. And she'll be an anchor in any relationship because she knows the stick-to-itiveness that has to happen in relationships. Not that you have to stay in every single thing. But a lot of relationships, there is a time where you just want to, you know what, I'm out. Well, that does not make for a relationship or a long-term marriage. It is much harder to stay even in a good marriage, because there are just times you're two people living this life together, and then you throw in the miscellaneous of life and what could happen and all these things that are happening with you. It's a lot. It's hard. And Bao is prepared for that, but I am glad that she was able to see, hey, I don't need to put up with this. So she is aware of the boundaries that she needs in the type of relationship that she wants. Johnny, I honestly, I started tuning out when Johnny was talking, because he's going back and forth. That's another one who's confused, giving mixed messages. The one thing that I will say about Johnny is when they were in the group setting, he was talking about how he's just like an emotional mess or whatever he called himself. Best thing Johnny has said. Brava, Johnny. That's the most accurate thing that you have said. And it's not to say he didn't experience a side of Bao that we didn't see, but the way he went about it, anytime he was faced with something he didn't like, that he was uncomfortable with, he left. He got up and he left. He got upset. He shut down. He drops a bomb on her in bed, and then, says, let's talk about it in the morning. Very selfish. He takes advantage of her being 100% into this experiment, and then pulls back, calling it wanting to set a foundation. But we know that he kind of was checked out, and so this was the easier way to do it than being like manning up and just saying, hey, here's how I feel, etc., etc. And then she shows up looking beautiful at this dinner that they have together, and it's really, his jaw almost hit the floor. Like, Johnny's not ready. I hope that Bao finds someone that she is meant to be with, that will treat her well and is ready for what she's ready for. I hear the lurkings on the internet, but whoever that ends up being, I am looking forward to that for her. So that is Bao and Johnny. I don't think that they need to stay together. They won't stay together. In terms of decision day, there definitely will be one no, for sure. Next we have Rachel and Jose. If it wasn't for the explosion that happened with Jose, I would feel pretty good about them. I would, given what we know about them, given what we've seen, given the short amount of time. I really do think that this experiment needs to change, though. I feel like it should be 8 weeks on camera, 4 weeks off camera, and then decision day, because it's too much. And the relationship goes through stressors that are specific to the way that it is, like in this very incubated, high pressure, high spotlight experience. And I think that when the cameras are off, they can be more of themselves. Now, if you find out 4 weeks later that more of this person is less of what you want, then we can make more of an informed, educated, experienced decision versus it didn't work out for 8 weeks. And that conversation, sorry, I'm jumping all around, but the conversation in the group setting about what yes means and what no's means. This is the first group I've been watching since season 3. This is the first group, or 4, that have had this ridiculous discussion about what yes means and what no means. It is a way to be to weasel your way into almost getting the goods for free. And that's like man or woman. It's like, hey, I don't want to be accountable, I don't want to be responsible, but I still want to take advantage of the parts of you that I like, but I don't want to be held responsible for anything else. That is not marriage. No is no. Okay, no means no. Yes means yes. And I'm so glad that Val was like, I don't know what anybody else is, and basically she's talking to Johnny, but I don't know what anybody else's yes and no mean, but this is what it means for me. We are done. Because we have the mess of Zach and Michaela and what that means. And, you know, going back to Zach, his no is all over the place. And this no doesn't mean no. You have to, like, say what you mean and mean what you say. So, circling back to Rachel and Jose, if it wasn't for that issue, I would feel a little more comfortable with them. They just have some kinks to work out. First of all, they need to have another situation that would prompt what could have been a similar reaction to see a different reaction, to see some growth. And we kind of did, because it didn't explode. Jose didn't explode when she mentioned that she spent the night at her ex's house, which I saw the comments. We are all over the place on what we think about that. So he could have, so that shows some growth, but it'll take time to see. Also, their life goals and how they view things, the travel and how it aligns. You know, she says, hey, I want to take a trip to Switzerland and Thailand. I want to really travel. And he's like, yeah, Fredericksburg and San Antonio. And y'all are in 2 different pages in 2 different books. So there have to be some compromise with them, because they may not always value a particular thing that the other person likes or the manner in which they like it. But just learning to get on the same page, give and take. And I feel like I'm seeing Rachel give, okay, we'll go on a ski trip, but I really still want to do this. Okay, we can go on your little road trip, but I want to do this. And he's, you know, not into it. But also, it's been 8 weeks. That is really a blip in time. So over time, we never know how things will change. But if I had a hopeful couple for this season, it would be Rachel and Jose. Last, we have Mirla and Gil. So Mirla and Gil, it's just, listen, you know, the last few episodes, I've really loved them because I love what they bring to the show. I don't think that they'll stay together because long term, I don't think they have the same goals, but I do think that they like each other. And I think that if they were more aligned in things that were everlasting, then I could see them going the distance. I'm over annoyed the poking of Gil. I'm just over it. Like, and I don't know, Mirla doesn't, I don't say poke back, but she doesn't bring her reservations up as much. She kind of takes him for what he is, knowing, hey, we've talked about these things and these are a concern, but the poking is incessant and I can't stand it, especially where he's poking at particular things where he doesn't necessarily measure up. And it's not a diss. It's just, here's this person doing XYZ, has done XYZ, has created this thing for herself, this life for herself, is being fiscally responsible, and it's the constant poking about it. And I will agree with him about her negativity, but I just feel like, at least on camera, we see her respond in a way that's better. I don't know that she always responds that way, because some of the things that he was alluding to was that she felt very arrogant. If that is the case, then that is terrible, because you never want to feel arrogant or better than. So I will go with him on that. But I think it's just, I don't know, I feel like every episode we see the same things from the two of them, so I'm just tired of seeing it. I really am tired of seeing it. They were great for this season. They won't last. And I don't know, I will be interested to see what they say. I feel like, and this is the one projection that I have, that they both will say yes. I don't know. I don't know that they'll last, because I really don't think that they will. So there it is, I said it. But I feel like that's the one couple. No, Rachel and Jose, they'll say yes too. But like Mirla and Gil really came in as the wild card couple, and I feel like they both will say yes, but I don't necessarily think. I think by the time they circle back to the reunion show, you know, it'll be a different conversation. So that is the couples for this week. I mean, we go into decision day next week. So, you know, of course, is it next week? I don't know. I know they have some filler episodes, but decision day is the next episode. So that'll be good to see. Before I leave, I want to touch on just the abandonment, because I saw a lot of comments about Michaela using abandonment and how death isn't abandonment and death is death, and her, you know, all of these things. Death is a form of abandonment, and this is my personal opinion. We don't have to agree. This is just kind of what I was gathering, because a lot of people are looking at it as her father passed, so he didn't abandon her, he didn't leave her, he died. Grief and the experience of grief, the concept of grief, is not logical. So a lot of people responding in that way, you're looking at it very logically, and the experience of losing someone, especially so significant, one of two parents, is not logical. The abandonment in that someone is gone and you weren't prepared, and maybe it was unexpected, that has similar feelings and associations to abandonment, the death of that person, and the inability to maybe cope with that, or to come to grips with that, or to accept it, or to keep playing a loop in your mind as to how things could have been had it not, only exacerbates the feeling of the abandonment, because the abandonment comes with not being prepared for it and not having the time to come to terms with it. So it's not very logical. So for everybody saying, well, he died, it wasn't abandonment, you're not looking at it the right way. That's just my personal and professional advice. Now, can somebody use that as an excuse? Absolutely. Does she use certain things maybe as a crutch? Has she been coddled or enabled by her family in which she has not learned coping mechanisms to deal with anything? Sure, we can say that. We can see that. Is everything related to her dad's death? No, and I will never say that. But there are lots of things that show up in our adult lives that stem from trauma in the past or when we're children. And a lot of people tend to think, she's grown now, or he's grown now. Why is he doing that? Or that should be different, or get over that, or move beyond that, or that happened when I was 5, or that happened when I was 7. All of that is significant. Every adult in the world is walking around with the little small child version of themselves. If that child is healed, it's a beautiful thing. If they are not, it's not. And it doesn't make for a very pretty adult sometimes, depending on how they're triggered. So I just want to touch on that. Doesn't mean that she can't get her act together, because it isn't always related to something that is like her father's death. Completely agree. But it's not just black and white. And I guess when we watch it without really thinking, it's very easy to just point and see what we see. But people are layered. And from a therapeutic perspective, there's been times I've worked with people that aren't the best people. They just aren't, in terms of maybe what they've done. But I'm trained to look at them in a very layered perspective, and that's people are layered. So I just wanted to touch on that, because that was like a recurring theme, and you guys commented a lot on that whole abandonment issue. So that's my 2 cents. You don't have to agree, but just offering a different perspective. So that's it, you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. As always, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share, and I will see you guys next week. Everyone have a wonderful week.